This is breaking news you do not know. You know who also does not like this? Elon Musk, the world's richest man, just tweeted this bill should not pass. The only way you're going to be able to pass it now, Mr. Speaker, is with Democrats. If you could, what's your message to Elon Musk?
Well,
Well, this is fun. MAGA Fox News hosts accidentally sent Republican Speaker Mike Johnson into a bit of a visible panic on live TV when they ambushed him with a devastating tweet from top Trump ally and donor Elon Musk, who condemned a major government spending bill that Mike Johnson is championing. So, folks, it could be, fingers crossed, that the sinister bromance between Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and Trump's MAGA Republicans is already unraveling. Fingers crossed. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we got a couple of clips to look at in this video, but I actually want to start with the first of several tweets from Elon Musk, the world's richest man, a sinister shadow prime minister, a man who is exerting oligarchic, sinister control over the president-elect of the United States, despite himself not holding any sort of elected office, the co-chairman of the quote-unquote Department of Government Efficiency, a guy who has just been exerting undue influence on the American electorate. Well, when it comes to this upcoming continuing resolution government funding bill, and we'll get into that, Elon Musk took to Twitter to say this bill should not pass. He said it in response to Vivek Ramaswamy, his fellow Doge co-chair. That's the context for what you're about to see. Now, as that tweet was being made, Republican Speaker Mike Johnson was being interviewed by 4 MAGA Fox News hosts who then ambushed him with a reaction about this tweet. And again, I want you to see the very subtle but discernible panic on Mike Johnson's face and in his voice about this tweet.
Oh, and this is breaking news you do not know. You know who also does not like this? Elon Musk, the world's richest man, just tweeted this bill should not pass. The only way you're going to be able to pass it now, Mr. Speaker, is with Democrats. If you could, what's your message to Elon Musk?
Well, I was communicating with Elon last night. Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together, and I was explaining to them the background of this. And Vivek and I talked last night about almost midnight, and he said, look, I get it. He said, we understand you're in an impossible position. Everybody knows that. Remember, guys, we still have just a razor-thin margin of Republicans, so any bill has to have Democrat votes. They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either. We got to get this done because here's the key. By doing this, we are clearing the decks, and we are setting up for Trump to come in roaring back with the America First agenda. That's what we're going to run with gusto beginning January 3rd.
Oh, and
so you can tell Mike Johnson's full of shit on what he said there towards the end. We'll get into that. But again, you can hear, I'm in a, listen, I was texting Elon and Vivek. We're in a text thread, and actually, like, I was actually talking like really late at night with Vivek. I mean, we stayed up all night. We were talking about like 90210 and Gossip Girl and, you know, like our dating life or whatever, like just weirdly, insecurely gossipy and juvenile, talking to, in this case, you know, multi-billionaire in Elon Musk. I'm not sure if Vivek Ramaswamy is quite a billionaire. I know he's close. He's very rich. These two unelected wealthy men who are exerting, again, sinister and corrupt influence on the United States government. And he, Mike Johnson, as much as I dislike him, he is the elected Speaker of the House, the third most powerful person in the government, the highest ranking Republican elected official until Donald Trump takes office on January 20th, deferring to these two losers. Just like, well, I mean, we talked, and I'm like, guys, I really don't like it either. You know, I don't like the spending. And they told me, they're like, no, you know, Mike, we don't blame you, Mike. Don't worry about it. We're just telling everybody not to vote for this. And again, you're going to see some of these tweets which totally contradict what Mike Johnson's talking about, because it doesn't make any sense that they simultaneously support Mike Johnson and understand the position Mike Johnson's in. Hey, no hard feelings, man. I get that you have to do this. But they're actively trying to sabotage Mike Johnson doing the thing that Mike Johnson says they recognize he needs to do. Hey, we know you have to put forward the stopgap bill. We don't hold it against you. But also, we're going to try to kill that stopgap bill, even though we recognize you have to do it. These are mutually exclusive sentiments. So clearly, Mike Johnson is overstating what Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have told him, or Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are really stupid and don't understand that they are sabotaging the thing they're telling Mike Johnson that they recognize Mike Johnson has to do. None of it makes any sense. But before we get into other tweets and other clips of Mike Johnson, let's read more about the information. Johnson going forward with stopgap funding bill despite Elon Musk opposition. Elon Musk, a close ally of Donald Trump, came out against Speaker Mike Johnson going forward with a stopgap government funding bill on Wednesday, saying this bill should not pass. Johnson was asked about the Tesla CEO's post during an interview on Fox and Friends. He appeared not to worry about Musk's post influencing the ability of the funding bill to get through the chambers, both ahead of a partial government shutdown deadline at the end of the day Friday. Now, I actually disagree with this interpretation because it seemed to me that Mike Johnson is concerned about it. You can hear it in the upward inflection of his voice, the stammering. He doesn't want to be at odds with Elon Musk. And they read the quote, which you heard. Johnson said that Musk and Ramaswamy, two Department of Government efficiency leaders, are aware of the tough spot the speaker's in with a slim majority and Democratic control of the Senate and White House. Doge is an outside of government or private operation. Johnson urged for Congress to pass this funding bill so we don't have a shutdown. We get to March where we can put our fingerprints on the spending. That's where the big changes start. The push comes as Republicans and Democrats scramble to pass a bill before government funding expires Friday night. Johnson, whose speakership has been characterized by beating back criticism from his far-right flank, had originally promised a clean bill that would solely extend current levels of government funding to prevent a shutdown. However, natural disasters and headwinds for farmers necessitated additional federal spending. In the end, the bill included $100 billion for recovery efforts from Hurricane Helene and Milton, and another $10 billion for economic assistance for farmers. Johnson at a press conference said his hands were tied after, quote, acts of God necessitated additional money. It was intended to be, and it was until recent days, a very simple, very clean continuing resolution, which is the stopgap funding measure to get us into next year when we have unified government. We had these massive hurricanes in late fall, Helene and Milton, and other disasters. We have to make sure that the Americans that were devastated by these hurricanes get the relief they need. Still, Republican spending hawks cried foul, accusing Johnson of stocking the bill with new spending without any way to pay for it and keeping the bill's creation behind closed doors. Quote, we're just fundamentally unserious about spending, and as long as you got a blank check, you can't shrink government. If you can't shrink government, you can't live free, said Chip Roy of Texas. Musk, too, mocked the size of the bill. Ever seen a bigger piece of pork? And he did. Ever seen a bigger piece of pork? And it's a multi-thousand-page tome here. He also went forward. Any member of the House or Senate who votes for this outrageous spending bill deserves to be voted out in 2 years. So again, this is where I'm confused. Actually, we've got another clip of Mike Johnson. Let me just play this clip because it makes the point again for me. And then we'll go back to that very last tweet from Elon Musk.
And I was on a text chain last night with Elon and Vivek about Doge because I'm super excited about that. And I said, guys, these are the necessary things. They don't like spending either. They said, we know this is not you personally, Mr. Speaker, and we got to get through this. So look, everybody understands the necessity. It is not palatable. This is the sausage-making part of legislation that nobody likes, but we're governing, and we'll pick it up in January and start a brand new day for America.
All right.
Yeah, is he indulging in hysterics? Is he pulling his hair out? Is he shrieking? No. But Mike Johnson seems pretty worried to me. And he's contradicting himself. And he should be worried because if what he's saying is true, that privately Musk and Vivek are like, hey, listen, no harm, no foul. You have no issues. Listen, we get the tough spot you're in. Then what does Mike Johnson have to say about this particular tweet? Any member of the House or Senate who votes for this outrageous spending bill deserves to be voted out in 2 years. Let me get this right, Mr. Speaker. You have to do this. This is necessary to keep the government funded. Vivek and Elon, who love you, you guys are in a text thread together, and it probably has a name. Doge besties, Doge shit, that'd be a good one. Doge shit with a little heart next to it and like a little dog emoji. They tell you, Mike, no, we get it. We understand the math. You got to keep the government funded, man. It's the only way to get the sufficient number of votes. The only way to fund what needs to be funded. We get it. But also, if you vote for it, Mike, you should be voted out of your job. You should lose your job in 2 years. How the hell can you square this? Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch pointed this out. Republican elected officials are going to rue the day they got into bed with him, Elon Musk. I guess this means Musk will back a primary candidate against Mike Johnson now and the rest of House Republican leadership. What can you say? I mean, if anything, this is almost inspirational to me. And I'm actually, listen, I'm a cynic by nature. And as I've told you, one of my concerns, I think no matter what, a Trump presidency and Republican leadership are going to be disastrous for this country, but disastrous in different ways. So the worst case scenario is Donald Trump following through on his promises, wrecking the economy, deporting tens of millions of undocumented immigrants, deporting Americans along with their undocumented immigrant family, ending birthright citizenship, slapping a 25% tariff on all imported goods from 2 of our 3 biggest trading partners, slapping a 10% additional tariff on all imported goods from our 3rd biggest trading partner, China, wrecking the American economy, instituting fascism by way of the sweeping Project 2025 agenda, throwing 2 additional Supreme Court justices on the bench once Alito and Thomas retire. I mean, there is the maximum worst case scenario. There's also the subtle bad scenario, which is that Donald Trump somehow he navigates this minefield through sheer dumb through sheer dumb Donald Trump style and weapons grade luck, which is what he's shown. He's the luckiest man in professional politics. And not through any change of heart of his own, not through any moderation of his own, not through a mea culpa where he apologizes for all the terrible things he did, for violating the peaceful transfer of power, not a redemption story for Donald Trump, but again, just through sheer dumb luck. And that this will incentivize this sort of behavior. And that somehow this insane coalition that has gathered around Trump will somehow go the distance and just squeak him over the finish line and send the wrong lesson to America. That's a concern I have. Then I see this shit. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should have faith that the worst impulses of Republicans, ranging from Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to Mike Johnson and Donald Trump and everybody in between, will actually manifest themselves. And that the narcissism and stupidity which plagues this movement will cause it to crumble before it begins. That this thing will be killed in its crib, metaphorically. Because here you have these 2 very presumptuous, wealthy men, Elon Musk in particular, more so than Vivek, trying to dominate in a so corruptly oligarchic direct way, in a way we've just never seen people talk. It's so funny. Destiny and others have talked about, Kyle Kalinski's talked about this, how the right clutched its pearls over George Soros and Bill Gates. These anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about left-wing billionaires puppeteering and Jews puppeteering, American politics. And meanwhile, Elon Musk is behaving on behalf of the right the way that right-wingers say that left-wing billionaires behave, but actually don't. Like, we've never seen this sort of direct, proximate relationship in modern history between somebody like Musk and a sitting president. But what this gives me hope for is that the clumsy, stupid intrusion will cause this coalition to crumble quickly so that they can't maximally damage the country. And the clownishness of it will be revealed to the American people. Where they say, you know what? Elon, build rockets, run Twitter, stay the fuck out of government. No one elected you. No one appointed you with Senate confirmation. That's what I'm hoping happens. Because the stage is set for it. Now, again, from sheer dumb luck, carry the day. But here you have Elon Musk effectively threatening, because by the way, we've seen the reports, we talked about this. There are reports that Musk will finance the primaries of any Republican who defies Trump. It's not hard to imagine that he could expand that remit to financially challenging or financially funding and financially challenging anyone who doesn't do what Musk wants. So if Musk doesn't like this bill, even though he's not in government, he's not White House Chief of Staff, he's not Secretary of State, he's not a congressman, he's not a senator, he's certainly not the president on paper, why wouldn't he expand that threat? Hey, if you vote for this bill, which I don't like, I will finance a primary opponent against you, including you, Mike Johnson, but also Mike Johnson, we totally understand where you're coming from. We get it. I don't know what's going to happen, but this does give me just a little bit of hope that the lack of cohesion among MAGA Republicans will endure even when they have their government trifecta. So much of this I attributed to the fact that they didn't have a trifecta. They were dealing with President Biden, a Democratic president. They were dealing with a Democratic majority Senate. They wanted to be the tail that wagged the dog, and that contributed to so much of the internal fighting. This actually gives me hope that there is a possibility that the clown show will continue even with Trump back in power and Republicans in control of the Senate and Elon Musk backing them. The only question is, will everyday Americans pay the price along the way? Unfortunately, I think in one form or another, we will. But yeah, Mike Johnson really wants you to believe that he and Vivek and Elon are cool, but it sure seems like Elon's not cool with this. So hopefully Democrats will be in a position to exploit this to their benefit. We will see. There are going to be 2 years till our next election. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.